Sometimes when the world's not on your side, you don't
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Maulana Junaid Kirsani, and we are a group of young men, scholars and traders out of Durban, South Africa. The purpose of our coming is to assist, to liaise and to view the current struggle in Syria and Sham. This struggle, the Syrian struggle, is already approaching its third year with no end in sight. The victims of this struggle are the young, our brethren, the Muslimin, all across the entire world, but especially in the land of Sham. To gauge the situation, to be part of their struggle, to be part of their daily endeavors and their recuperation from this particular situation, we are here to show them our solidarity and to assist them in whatever way.
through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach.
We have arrived in the Zatari camp after a journey of approximately about 70-75 minutes. The Zatari camp at this point in time is the largest refugee camp inside the world. It has now succeeded or exceeded 300,000 in number. It is larger than the previous camp, which was in Rwanda at the height of the Hutu-Tutsi conference and at this conflict. And at this point in time, this camp has become the largest in the world. So we have arrived with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and already the conditions have hit us. We have observed the traffic, the jam, the noise, all types of activities that would be typical of a camp. What we understand is that the camp closes in the evening and it is under police lockdown. It is even the police that are scared to enter this camp at certain hours. So alhamdulillah, the South African contingent has arrived.
Sometimes when the world's not on your side, you don't know where to run to, you don't know where to hide. You gaze at the stars in the sky, at the mountains so high, through the tears in your eyes, looking for a reason to replace what is gone. Just remember that you are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Maulana Muhammad Mutala. The Al Imdad youth delegation team is here presently at the Zatari camp in Jordan. And as you can see, ahead of you is a school playground. The Zatari children are at school and playing at the moment. On my left hand side you can see all the Zatari tents. Ahead of us you can see all the Zatari homes. These people are living in these conditions for the past 2 to 3 years. These people were normal people, normal professionals, normal school children attending schools, the parents attending workplaces, and overnight the conditions change, and now they have left their place, Syria, and have come into the Jordan Zatari refugee camp. This is their way of life. Every single day they have left their homes and now living in tents.
Our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. Allah is there. Through through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace. You are never alone.
Alhamdulillah, the young delegation with the Al Imdad Foundation all the way from South Africa is here at the Za'atari refugee camp, and it has really saddened our hearts to see the condition of the Syrians and how they are living and how the Syrian refugees are living in the Za'atari refugee camp. There's a sea of tents behind us. Thousands of people are residing in this camp presently. But alhamdulillah, the good news is that from South Africa and from the Al Imdad Foundation and its partners across the globe, alhamdulillah, significant amount of contributions are coming, and your contributions are reaching these people. So we urge you to continue supporting these refugees. We urge you to continue your donations towards these people. And as you can see the plight of this little youngster who's just come to join us, and how sad it is. They need our love, they need our care, they need our support, and more than anything else, they need our du'as. So we once again urge you all out there, remember these people in our du'as and continue the support for these Syrian people. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Reason to replace what is gone. Just remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone.
Alhamdulillah, we had an opportunity today to go to the Za'atari refugee camp. For me, it was a very emotional and overwhelming experience. Just the drive there alone was a sad one. Seeing everybody walking with sadness in their face, pushing wheelbarrows, old people, young people, a lot of women, a lot of children, not many men. Entering the camp also, quite a long distance to the main area where the guys are staying. As we walked in, a lot of little children. For me, that was upsetting to see, because it brought back memories of my kids, and I brought tears to my eyes. That even though they would, whatever they faced with, they had a smile on their face, showing the peace signs. Young, beautiful children, and all living in tents. And the tents weren't, there wasn't anything in the tent basically. It was just a couple of utensils and basins, and we found mothers washing clothes outside and the kids playing. But truly an emotional experience. It makes you look back at life and think that, you know what, we have to make so much of shukr and appreciate what we have with ourselves, with our family and our children.
We are now in Al-Mafraq city. It's the border city near the Syrian border. We have our own distribution center, Al-Imdad distribution center for the Syrian refugees. Inshallah, today we'll start the first day of the mission of delegation. We will start distribution of blankets, food, hygiene and medicine. Inshallah.
You don't know where to run to, you don't know where to hide. You gaze at the stars in the sky, at the mountains so high, through the tears in your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. This afternoon we have reached the Al-Imdad Safe House and Distribution Center just outside the town of Al-Mafraq. This distribution center has been set up outside the official United Nations camps as a private distribution center. 3 kilometers behind me, as the crow flies, is the Syrian border. Overnight, dozens of refugees cross over the border looking for safe homes. The majority of them find some salvation or some place to stay in informal settlements. Now, these informal settlements are spread across the entire breadth and length of Jordan. What Al-Imdad does, and what many good organizations do, is that they set up these distribution centers. Buses bring in a load of displaced individuals. They seek assistance. They offer the United Nations number, wherein some form of a recognition is given to them and some form of a system is set up where specific distributions are given. So this house, alhamdulillah, has been donated, or its services have been donated rather, by Dr. Abu Islam and Dr. Islam. Both of them, alhamdulillah, proficient, wealthy individuals who have devoted their times in helping the Syrian refugees. Of course, their brethren right across the border. So alhamdulillah, we have assisted in the distribution today, whatever we could. It was a brief snack distribution, and which inshallah will be followed by a clothing distribution. One thing is visible, that if you look inside, and as the previous pictures would tell, that the people inside this camp, alhamdulillah, are calm. Many of them have waited up to 4 hours to catch the bus to come to this distribution center. There is no pushing, there is no shoving, and this needs to be well documented and well registered in our mind, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives people sabr that we have to learn from. These good qualities are distributed all across the entire world, and it's not that we're helping them, but rather they are helping us. They are teaching us the qualities of patience, the qualities of forbearance, which we have failed to learn in our own society. So I welcome each and every single one of you to lend a hand, to follow this conflict, whether you are at home or whether you are here on the ground, but make this year a part of your lives.
لأنكم تعلمون الصبر والشكر وكل شيء من الخير. لأنكم أهل الرباط، أهل الشام أهل الرباط. نحن بعيدين من جنوب أفريقيا، ولكن نحن قريبون منكم. قريب لأن قلوب المؤمنين واحد، إنما المؤمنون إخوة. والله ما نسينا أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: والله في عون العبد ما كان العبد في عون أخيه. والله كلكم إخواننا، وإن شاء الله سنعود وسنعود وسنعود حتى حريتكم، حتى حرية سوريا إن شاء الله، وحتى رجوعكم إلى بلادكم بالسلامة والأمانة وكل شيء من الخير، لأننا معكم في الحياة وفي الممات إلى يوم القيامة. إلى لقاء الخير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zubair Yusuf. I'm from Durban. We've been in Jordan for the past few days now, and it's been a really eye-opening experience for me. The thing that really got me was I met people that were fairly well dressed. So what my feeling was is that these people came from very financially good backgrounds, and to have everything taken away from them overnight and to lead lives as beggars, it was really sad. And it got me thinking that we in South Africa are so fortunate in our lives. I mean, we are complaining about the crime in South Africa, but just try to picture that if somebody has to come and tell you that you need to move out of your home immediately, and you're not allowed to take much with you, just the clothing on your back and whatever you can grab, how will you survive? Who will you turn to? That's what these people are going through. So don't ever think that if the UN is involved and other organizations are involved, that these people have enough of help. They don't. Try to give as much as you can, and don't ever think that it will go unappreciated, because when you look at these people and how appreciative they are, I mean, we've seen children, we just have to give them a sweet. These children are so excited, and it makes you think about your kids. I mean, you give them everything, but still but still they want more. And I mean, you use this to teach your children how appreciative they should be.
Alone, you are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. Allah is there. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Abdul Qadir Seira, and I'm currently with the Al-Imdad Foundation assisting the Syrian refugees in Jordan. You know, back home we are bombarded with news headlines about the Syrian crisis, and we are affected to an extent, a limited extent. But coming here and assisting them personally and witnessing the plight of the Syrian refugees on a first-hand basis, you know, words cannot encapsulate my emotions. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I recall the other day at the Zatari refugee camp, which overnight became the second largest refugee camp in the world. We saw two infants whose skin were absolutely burnt and scarred, and this was the ramifications of a bomb blast. And these are really, it brings tears to your eyes, and it was really heartbreaking. And the amazing thing is that these Syrian refugees are staring in the face of adversity, but yet their faith and iman is still sky high. I recall that we had given the family their hamper, and they were going back to the bus to head off to the refugee camp. And my friend and I were looking for the father of the family. And when we turned around, he had taken off whatever clothing he had, put it on the floor, and he was offering his salah. And that really was inspirational and moving. And it's a lesson for you and I and all of us back home. It was really moving and motivating. I plead to all of you back home to dig deep into your pockets and try and assist the Syrian cause that Al-Imdad is doing a sterling job. And if you can, try and make the trip yourself. It's life-changing. And never ever stop praying for Syria. Shukran.
Paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. Allah is there. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. Sometimes when the world's not on your side, you don't know where to run to, you don't know where to hide. You gaze at the stars in the sky, at the mountains so high, through the tears in your eyes, looking for a reason.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is our second day at the Al Mafraq Refugee and Distribution Center run by the Al Imdad Center. As of last night, a group of us went to the receiving center. What happens is that overnight, dozens of refugees walk across the Syrian-Jordanian border and are picked up by Jordanian patrols. These patrols immediately transport the refugees to the detention center where they are held indefinitely until the processing takes place. Once the processing takes place, they are then forwarded to a refugee center or various safe houses after various documentations have been completed. As of last night at 1:30 a.m. in the morning, Islam, who's our host here at the distribution center, or rather our hostess, Mr. Abu Islam and Mrs. Islam, they had called upon us to assist them with the new arrivals. The new arrivals are the title for those refugees who have spent up to 2 days crossing the Syrian-Jordanian border. And upon receiving them, the Jordanian army immediately calls these goodwill hosts who are situated on the Jordanian side to come and assist the various refugees. So alhamdulillah, we were part of the distribution last night, and we were able to witness on a first account, on a first-hand basis, the plight and the suffering of new arrivals. The new arrivals are unlike any people who have actually lived inside the camp for an extended period of time. You can see the fear inside their eyes, you can see the lack of understanding of the process that is going around them, and you could hear the wail and the screams of the children in the background. Believe me, it is a sound that will remain inside your mind for many years to come, and it encapsulates the actual experience of the refugee that crosses the border under the veil of darkness, unaware of their future. So with this in mind, I request that all of us bear us in your du'as and remember these people as they attempt to make a better future for themselves. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Don't talk. Don't talk. Finish.
As we are speaking, a bus of refugees have arrived. The Al Imdad Foundation, at their own cost, ships in at least 30 to 40 refugees per bus. On average, a distribution takes place to about 70 families on a good day, and this is the daylight distribution. The nighttime distribution, as was spoken about in the previous episode, was actually different. This year is the daylight distribution, and yesterday was the supply distribution. Today, as we said, is the medical distribution, and as a bus offloads, they are assembled inside a tent which you see there in the background. This bus will now go and pick up another load of refugees whilst this lot is being processed. And hopefully when the second lot arrives, the first lot that has already been processed will be ready to leave back to their camps and wherever they are sheltered for the evenings. This, of course, is a heartbreaking situation where you see some of these people who have waited up to 3 to 4 hours to catch this bus so that they may be first in the line. They will have to wait another 2-3 hours to be processed and another 2-3 hours to catch their bus back home. An entire day's process for a box of supplies, much needed supplies, and this is the current situation that we find on the ground right here in Syria.
A straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember, that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. Allah is there.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ibrahim Mohammadi, and I joined Al-Imdad on this trip to help out Syrian refugees and give them our support. The few things that I've learned on this trip is that you need to be grateful and appreciate what you have, and that you also find people in this world who help out with good intentions of their hearts. For example, Dr. Nizar. And a lady that we went to the distribution center, we saw her, and she gives her life and her time to the whole entire day, the day or night, 3 in the morning, she was helping out. No matter what, the whole time she's helping out those refugees, and what the best she can do, she gives to them. And I also realized that we are very unappreciative because, for example, if we can't get a PlayStation, we get very upset. But I saw one boy, Saud, when he just got so happy when he had one small toy gun which was already half broken, but that made his whole day like a joy. And he was playing with all of us, and everyone got really attached to him. And I just wanted to say, like on a personal, like a very personal level, like I'm adopted, so like I used to feel like, I used to ask Allah like why it happened to me, but I realized that you can't worry about these things anymore because there's so many bigger problems in life, and there's a different thing when you see it on TV and when you actually see these children in real life and you told them, like the one boy who was burnt because of a bomb. Him and his brother were burnt, their skin, their hands were burnt, and it just made me realize that there's nothing you can be unappreciative for. Just having clean water, you got put in a good family, that's all you need. These children are suffering, they came from a good home, and you can see how well dressed they were, and now look where they are. And it just shows that anything can happen overnight, and you must be grateful for what you have.
On your side, you don't know where to run to, you don't know where to hide. You gaze at the stars in the sky, at the mountains so high, through the tears in your eyes, looking for a reason to replace what is gone. Just remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never. Sometimes when the world's not on your side, you don't know where to run to, you don't know where to hide. You gaze at the stars in the sky, at the mountains so high, through the tears in your eyes, looking for a reason to replace what is gone. Just remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final.
Alhamdulillah, with the fazl al karam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we managed to get a group of youngsters, matriculants, young businessmen, ulama kiram, and on Wednesday we left Durban for Jordan, and alhamdulillah on Thursday with a few obstacles on the way, but alhamdulillah we made it to Masjid al-Aqdas, and alhamdulillah the atmosphere was electrifying. Masjid al-Quds, Masjid al-Aqsa was extremely beautiful with snowfall all around the compound of Masjid al-Aqsa. It lifted the spirits of the youngsters, our team members, and it was the first visit of many of our youngsters at Masjid al-Aqsa. We had sensed there was a sense of calmness all around Masjid al-Aqsa during this part of the year, and alhamdulillah we spent 2 nights and 2 days there. We had the good fortune of performing Jummah Salah in Masjid al-Aqsa. We went to the Mubarak graves of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, Yusuf alayhi salam, and thereafter on Saturday we had left Masjid al-Aqsa, Palestine, and we came into Amman, Jordan. We were greeted by Dr. Nizar al-Sheikh, the Amir of the Al-Imdad Foundation in Jordan, and the first visit was on Thursday night, humanitarian visit on Saturday night, where we visited a hospital which hosts all injured Syrian refugees, and this was the beginning of our humanitarian journey, and it really, it touched all those members who visited this hospital on that night. One of the patients we visited was a young girl, 8-year-old, by the name of Farah. Her household and building in Syria was demolished by bombs by the Syrian regime, and due to that she had lost her entire leg, and her other leg was severely damaged, and also she had lost her entire family in that bomb. Thereafter we met another youngster, a 17-year-old youngster from Syria. Due to bombings on his household, he had lost his eyesight, his entire face got burnt, he lost a limb. Standing in the hospital, witnessing all these scenes, really broke down the brothers who were with us during this visit. And as I said, this was the beginning of our journey. On Sunday, we visited the historical and the magnificent Zaatari refugee camp, which has become the second largest refugee camp in the world at present after Rwanda. It hosts approximately 150,000 refugees, with an approximate average of 500 to 700 refugees entering the Zaatari refugee camp on a daily basis. Here we drove around and we were taken on the tour of the entire Zaatari refugee camp, and we had sensed, a sense of calmness and happiness and smile amongst the children, because they were unaware of what's going on about their future. But however, we had sensed a lot of frustration, a lot of anger on the faces of the adults at Zaatari refugee camp. Thereafter, we went on for a distribution at the Al-Imdad distribution center near the border, the Jordan-Syrian border, and we were hosted by a family at this compound who have dedicated their life to the service, humanitarian service of the Ummah. Alhamdulillah, the brothers, the team members, the youth, the businessmen, we all got together. We distributed blankets, aid, medical supplies, food supplies to the Syrian refugees. We came across many mothers who didn't partake in the meals due to fasting, despite them being in the situation in the Syrian crisis. Then alhamdulillah, during that night, on Sunday night, a few brothers were kept behind at the distribution center, and in the early hours of Monday morning at 2 a.m. we were taken to a special arrival center which receives Syrian refugees who walk from their homes and cross onto the Jordanian side. This was really touching and heartbreaking, witnessing mothers, fathers with their babies in their hands, the only clothes on their bodies, no bags, no blankets, no food. They have been traveling for 2 days, most of them coming from Damascus, some from Dar'a. As they reached the Jordanian border, we received them, and one of the heartbreaking scenes was a young Syrian mother with her husband and together with her 2 babies were crying out loud due to severe hunger.
What is gone? Just remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. through sorrow and through grief.
Alhamdulillah, we've come from South Africa in peak summer, which is reaching 28, 30 degrees heat. And Alhamdulillah, the brothers have adapted very well here to -2 degrees, -1 degree, ice cold, as I said, with snowfall all around Amman and Palestine still, despite the fact that it snowed here a week ago. But it's extremely cold conditions here.
Behind us is the Markaz with Ibn Qayyim Quraniya, the madrasa for the children doing Hifz al-Quran. Give the viewers a sense of what's going on in this madrasa.
This is the area called Suf, where the Al-Imdad Foundation, they host Palestinian refugees and Syrian refugees now. But this, this madrasa you see here of Ibn Qayyim al-Qurani, it is a special Quran institute for orphan Palestinian children, wherein they come here and they stay here and they learn to recite Quran looking inside and Bahat in the Quran Sharif. So Alhamdulillah, we're busy with the Quran Jalsa at the moment. Wherein there's a whole program laid out where the students are participating and reciting Quran for us, singing Anashid for us, and we are just going into a Quran competition now. All this done by Palestinian orphans.
You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Yusuf Hassan Raja, and I've been privileged to be invited to be a part of this humanitarian mission to Jordan and visiting Palestine. The entire journey has been a lesson in sabr and shukr. From the date that the invitation came till today when we departed. When the invite came, we all made intention without hesitation to be a part of this mission. And the first lesson is that Allah has chosen us, so we should make shukr for it. When we arrived at the airport, meeting brothers for the first time and saying goodbyes to our families, we made dua, say, Allah, protect our families while we are away and accept whatever work we're going to be doing when we embark on this mission. When we arrived at the border post in Israel, the first thing that came to mind is to say, Ya Allah, we'll make sure that South Africa has gone beyond apartheid, and we could have been in this same position that the Palestinian brothers are in. Whilst at the border post, there was a bomb scare and we all had to evacuate to another room. And you think that, Ya Allah, in an instant our life can change. In an instant we can be put in a situation where we have to leave everything behind and just leave. The other lesson at the border post was a lesson of sabr, where our patience was tested by the Israeli border officials. When we arrived in Palestine and you see the ancient city and you see all the history there, you make dua that, Ya Allah, return the land of Quds to the Muslims. Let there be peace and freedom for the people of Palestine in the same way that South Africa has freedom of religion and movement. Thereafter we returned to Amman and we went to the Zatari refugee camp. It's a small city on its own, 160,000 people, and you see a lot of the children still smiling and playing, but you can see the conditions that they're in, and you say, Allah, take these people out of this condition and protect us from being tested like this. The conditions there were not good. It was, although the sun was shining and there were blue skies. It was bitterly cold. The children didn't have much clothing on, the bare necessities. You make shukr for all that we have got in South Africa and in our lives. Thereafter we went to the Al-Imdad distribution center, and there were about 50-60 families waiting in a tent to receive some aid from our group. And whilst the ulama in our group were giving them some nasihat and reading a bit of Quran, you could see the tears flowing from the parents' eyes. It's quite a emotional thing to see, especially if those of us that have children and can relate to this sort of thing. So we sit there and you make shukr, say, Allah, protect these people, remove them from oppression, return them to their lands so that they can be free, and protect us from them. The next day, the following day, we went to the Palestinian camp in Suf. Those people have been in there from 1948 till today, and they've been living in these conditions for the better part of 50-60 years. And we visited an orphanage with about 30-40 orphans that were studying Hifz. Alhamdulillah, they were in high spirits to receive us, but it's a bit difficult to see them in those conditions. So even in those conditions, the deen is still thriving, and Quran is still being read, and people are still holding on to hope, and they're still demonstrating sabr. An important point when we visited all of these camps was that the people that were receiving the aid always displayed humility. There was always order, there was respect, there was dignity, there was no pushing or shoving. And even though we know that whatever they came in front of us with was their total possessions, they still said Jazakallah for whatever was given. They still made a dua to us. That's a lesson. But no matter what or how much or where we're from, we must always make shukr for whatever we had, because there are people that have less than us out there. The entire journey has been about lessons, about how a group of individuals in our team, 16 of us from different backgrounds, different professions, some just finishing school, some in university, ulama, professionals, business people. A group of us came together, and on an individual level we tried to make a difference. And that difference has a dual benefit. One is the benefit to the receiver, and the other is the benefit to ourselves as individuals. Beyond that, each of us as individuals, when we come together, we are always greater than the sum of our parts. So we should continue with spreading the message that within our own country we need to do similar work, and in countries like Jordan and Syria, and that no matter how small the contribution, whether it's a dua, whether it's money, whether we physically go and do something, it makes a difference. And together we can contribute to helping our Muslim brothers within South Africa and around the world, and also humanity at large, Muslim or non-Muslim. And that's one of the greatest lessons that I've learned on this trip.
When the world's not on your side, you don't know where to run to, you don't know where to hide. You gaze at the stars in the sky, at the mountains so high, through the tears in your eyes, looking for a reason to replace what is gone. Just remember that you are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is.
What do you see as the way forward for this group and for the work that needs to continue?
Alhamdulillah, when I decided to bring a group along, it was solely for this intention that they may be affected and that they may appreciate the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given us in South Africa. But Allah is the best of planners, that within just 2 days into our humanitarian trip, the brothers, in our team, the businessmen, the youth, they were so touched and they were so affected that they came up to me and they want to establish a humanitarian wing when they go back to South Africa. So inshallah, we've got some plans and ideas that we want to bring the youth, the young businessmen, and even the young wives into a humanitarian wing, wherein we will be doing humanitarian work back home locally and internationally, inshallah. So I feel this has come from the team themselves, and they want to follow up and continue this humanitarian work. I think, alhamdulillah, this trip has been successful and we have accomplished our mission.
Jazakumullah khair.
Is always there. You are never alone. Allah is there through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace. You are never alone. Sometimes